Tonight, more exposure sites added in Adelaide and the state's southeast amid growing COVID cases. And Broken Hill's incoming mayor snaps up a landslide election win.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. Vaccination rates remain the focus for authorities as more exposure sites are being added following the reopening of South Australia's borders. 2 flights to Adelaide are included in the sites, as Mark Zeta reports.
Vaccination rates across the Spencer Gulf have continued to rise, with the Omicron variant possibly putting a dent into the Christmas plans of many in our region. SA Health adding new exposure sites overnight, including 2 flights at Adelaide Airport, QF741 from Sydney and VA233 from Melbourne. 11 new cases were reported over the weekend, with the majority in Adelaide and the southeast corner of the state. South Australia's Premier saying they are monitoring the situation regularly with the Omicron variant.
We're having very regular directions meetings. There wasn't a directions meeting held yesterday, there was a teleconference held, no changes, and I don't believe there will be a directions meeting today.
Turning to vaccination rates in the Spencer Gulf, numbers have been steadily increasing. In Whyalla, close to 84% of residents have had their first dose, 74% reporting they are double vaccinated. In Port Pirie, first dose rates are at 88%, with 79% having both doses. Close to 87% have one shot in Port Augusta. Nearly 75% reported to have their second dose as well. Outback South Australia, including Port Lincoln, has recorded a first dose rate of 81%. Meanwhile, in Broken Hill, there were no new cases recorded up to 8 p.m. last night. However, the state recorded 9 new cases of the Omicron variant, bringing the total to 25.
New South Wales Health continues to work with the community to keep COVID transmission as low as possible as we learn to live with the virus.
There were 208 new cases reported overall in New South Wales in the past 24 hours up to 8 p.m. last night.
Broken Hill will soon have a new mayor after a landslide victory at Saturday's local government election. A huge swing putting Tom Kennedy in the top job, backed by more than half of the city's voters.
His slogan was, "It's time for Tom," and it seems most of the community agrees, giving a familiar face a new title.
Tom Kennedy Mayor.
This afternoon, Kennedy had received just under 55% of votes, more than double his closest rival.
What I will do as a mayor and what our group will do is implement the decisions of the community.
The majority of his group will now have seats in the council chamber. A 30% swing to Kennedy's team, expected to leave Daria Turley and the Labor caucus with around 2 seats, down from 5.
The reality is, and again congratulations to the incoming mayor, is that he will have full control of council in a block vote.
Tom Kennedy has said his immediate priorities are to return public question time and standing committees, but also to halt the construction of the Library and Cultural Precinct, which recently received almost $9 million in federal funding.
It sounds good to say you're going to get a grant, but if it's going to cost you tens of millions of dollars over the life of that grant to maintain it, it's not a win for your community.
The landslide also leaves Dave Gallagher with just a couple of seats.
This year there'll be no alliance. We'll be voting, myself and Ron, who's actually on council again, we'll be voting for the benefit of Broken Hill. So that's what we're there for and that's what we're going to do.
But an announcement to soften the blow for the outgoing mayor, named President of Local Government New South Wales.
Every time I meet a minister, every time I meet a senior bureaucrat, they will know the story of Broken Hill.
A story which now has a new chapter. Lachlan Ittis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
More single-use plastic items may soon be banned in South Australia as the state government looks to double down on its mission for a more eco-friendly future. Business owners and industry experts are now being consulted to see which plastic items the state can live without.
The state government continuing to make green the mainstream. With the success of banning plastic drinking straws, stirrers and cutlery in March of this year, further items are now being considered to be banned.
The South Australian Government has announced a big consultation on a whole range of items that we're looking to phase out through 2022 and beyond.
The Environment Minister yesterday releasing a new discussion paper outlining the proposed items that may be immediately outlawed with public support, including polystyrene cups, bowls, plates and clamshell containers that continue to find their way into waterways across the state. With the ban aiming to begin March next year, the government is now asking South Australian residents for their thoughts.
We are asking South Australians, both everyday people in the community and also stakeholders that might be affected by this, about how we can continue to lead the nation, if not the world, with our approach to pollution reduction.
Also saying items will only be banned if there are readily available alternatives. But it is another necessary step towards ridding our land and beaches of waste.
It's not going away. It is a long process to get rid of it. So we've got to take these kind of actions if we're going to chip away at that and protect our coastline.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a new childcare centre coming to Crystal Brook to meet a rising demand. And the member for Frome calls for lighting on a busy Port Pirie intersection. Welcome back. Crystal Brook is set to get its very own childcare centre, hoping to make lives easier for families in the region. Port Pirie Regional Council has approved plans to build a new facility, aiming to create more jobs for the community.
For more than 4 years, families in Crystal Brook have been pushing for a childcare centre. The Port Pirie Regional Council giving the project the green light, making the morning commute a whole lot easier for parents who travel every day.
Crystal Brook mothers and fathers have to travel, like 60 kilometres return trip to go do their work, then come back, pick up the children again and go back home. So it's just a ridiculous scenario.
Council now deciding where the centre will go, with the primary school and the kindergarten at the top of the list. The hospital and the old boarding house are also options under consideration. The facility also allowing working parents to return to their offices without the worry of who will be looking after their children.
A lot of these young mothers are professionals and the nurses or whatever it may be, so that'll allow them to actually get into the workforce.
Set to cater for more than 50 children.
Quite a lot of children will be actually expected in there, and it's not only the Crystal Brook children, there's people from Gladstone and surrounding districts as well that will use that facility.
It could take up to a year for construction to begin, as the region faces a building supply shortage due to the COVID pandemic. Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The final round of grant funding for infrastructure development within the Cummins-Wanilla Basin has opened up. One local group is encouraging farmers to come forward and claim the funding.
With the wet harvest upon us, the Cummins-Wanilla Stream Care Group is urging farmers to upgrade their drainage systems.
I realise it's a shocking time to be pestering farmers, but we don't want to waste this money, and if we can help you get your drainage working better and paddocks drain better, well, please come forward.
The state government offering for $250,000 worth of funding for improvements to drainage infrastructure within the Cummins-Wanilla Basin, giving landowners the chance to boost their agricultural production.
Really, there's a time limit on it, and so the sooner you come forward with your applications, Dave Cunningham's available to be approached and we'll help you.
Depending on the size of the development, landholders can apply for grants between $2,000 and $30,000. Projects in the area already underway.
Well, one at Wanilla's just to work with a grader, making small drains just to keep water moving. A lot of the ground's quite not hilly like Copier Hills or anything.
The infrastructure development also aiming to support habitats and improve biodiversity. Farmers have until May 2023 to come forward.
South of Cummins down to Keldy Bay, if you fit in that area, you're eligible.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The member for Frome has called on the state government to install a set of street lights at one of Port Pirie's busiest intersections. The Department of Infrastructure and Transport is investigating whether or not the area needs improvement.
Hundreds of road users driving through this intersection every day. For years, the corner of Abattoir Road and the Spencer Highway has stood with no lights, said to create difficulties for drivers to see at night. The member for Frome now calling on Transport Minister Corey Wingard to install a set of lights so drivers can see when they are entering or leaving Port Pirie.
There's a lot more traffic coming on this intersection here. Now, this intersection has, according to the department, the visibility is okay.
In a statement, an Infrastructure and Transport Department spokesperson says it's committed to improving safety for all road users and is currently investigating the traffic flow at the intersection. Also adding, there has been no recorded crashes at the corner in the last 5 years. There's been no recorded fatalities at this intersection, but our member for Frome believes it's only a matter of time before there is a serious collision here.
A lot of ministers will say, oh, it's going to cost $100,000, $200,000 or whatever it may be. My attitude is if we can save a fatality, save a serious injury on here, that is worth it.
Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Carols and a visit from Santa brings the Christmas spirit to Port Augusta. And young local skaters hit the parks in a junior competition. Hello again. An inclusive event was held last week in Whyalla to celebrate International Day of People with Disability. Organised by Mission Australia and the city's Disability Inclusion Reference Group, the event featured live music, Care Bears and dance demonstrations. More than 4 million people in Australia identify as living with a disability. Port Augusta has welcomed the festive season, with the city's Christmas extravaganza taking place last night. The annual Christmas pageant and carols bringing smiles to the faces of those who attended.
Santa Claus has come to town. The Jolly One himself joining in on Port Augusta's Christmas celebrations, organised by the local Rotary Club. The free ticketed event seeing 2,500 locals join in on the fun.
So fantastic to see the families together, the young kids. When we did our small pageant around the oval, just passing out the lollies, it's just the excitement and the love in the air.
Santa's sleigh arriving at a different venue this year, with the pageant taking place at Central Oval instead of its traditional commercial road route. This change of location allowing the much-loved event to proceed this year under SA Health requirements.
Rotary, they've done a fantastic job here. Our council employees that are working back, we've even got a couple of directors here of the COVID marshals, so that's dedication.
Featuring multiple carolling groups, a twilight movie screening and dancers galore, but children were most excited by the man in red.
It's chasing Santa? Yeah, we do.
As if kids weren't hyped up enough, many stalls giving away free food and gifts to give back after a successful year in the city.
This is a message to other people who live outside of Port Augusta to come here. There's a lot of opportunities in Port Augusta.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The annual Skate and Scooter Fest has returned to Port Lincoln. The event hosted by the West Coast Youth and Community Support Group, seeing some of the best skaters in the state battle it out over the weekend.
Port Lincoln skating, sticking the landing. After a long layoff, skaters of all levels were given the opportunity to put their abilities to the test.
We come together at 10:30 this morning, did some coaching with the young ones, and then that rolls into the competition. Quite often we see the young ones that do the coaching then want to get involved with the comp.
This year's annual Snag, Roll, Skate and Scooter Fest, run by the Youth Community Support Group, but it wasn't without the help from some local students.
So some of the Year 7s from Port Lincoln Primary stepped up recently to meet with us, and they're down here today volunteering, serving food with Rotary and all of those things.
The event bringing skaters from across the Eyre Peninsula together.
For opens, there'll be, each skater will get a minute run or 2 minute runs or something, and then they'll become, I think top 2 skaters might be in the finals.
However, the day was much bigger than just skating.
Try my best to be a good mentor and teach them how to skate, and also just how to be a good kid around the park as well.
Really just skating with all my friends, it's just a really good vibe.
The event aiming to encourage skaters of the next generation to drop in and learn the sport. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
South Australia's Premier State Football League has announced Whyalla as the host for next year's country championships. More than 500 players, coaches and umpires will converge in the city for a weekend of football.
It's a much-needed boost to Upper Spencer Golf sport. For the first time in history, the SANFL announcing Whyalla as the host of next year's SA Country Football Championships.
It's an opportunity for 6 men's teams and also 6 women's teams to come to Whyalla and play over a weekend. There's also a great possibility that there'll be an SANFL game here on that same weekend.
The 2-day carnival will be held at the recently renovated Bennett Oval, now built to AFL standards. Held on the weekend of July 16 to 17, it's set to bring thousands of spectators and personnel to the city.
There was probably 2 things that helped Whyalla win the country championships. The first one is our facilities, our ovals, our lights, our irrigation system, the club rooms. The other thing that's really helped Whyalla is the size of our town.
In a statement, SANFL Football General Manager Matt Doldig says the events will help the city capitalise on Bennett Oval, which also won an infrastructure accolade earlier this year. The council also hoping to attract other sporting events to the city sometime in the future.
We are still talking to the AFL about having a pre-season game here, and we have been talking as well about getting a women's AFL game here as well.
Bennett Oval hosted a pre-season Port Adelaide match last year. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us, more sport after the break. We'll have all the results from weekend cricket matches. And Alex Sykes will join us with the weather details. Welcome back. West have again shown their dominance in Broken Hill's cricket competition, taking down the reigning premiers in a hotly contested match. Some big hitting helping the side to victory. Lachlan Itter has a wrap of the weekend's action.
North's sluggish start to the season continued, with a handful of Westies doing the heavy lifting for their side. Saturday's match at Alma Oval also off to a shaky start. A North no ball, hardly the most exciting beginning to what was expected to be a close contest. West getting just 1 run of their own before Callum Rosewarne's time at the crease ended. Tom Burke's consistent heavy hitting helped get runs in the bank. Jordan Meehan only managed 2 before being bowled out. North had a few chances to stop Burke, but not in time. His performance making all the difference, smashing balls over fences and totalling 42 runs before being bowled out. West ending their innings with 174 on the board, North falling 30 runs short in reply. Anthony Tidball, the top batsman for his side, with 32. In the round's other games, Central were all out for 128, South managing just 29 runs. Around the grounds and in Whyalla, West were all out for 81 after 34 overs. North had no problem chasing that total, losing just 2 wickets in the process. It was a case of so close and yet so far for Central, unable to match Rupina's 182. In Port Augusta, Corey Finlay's 59 runs helped set up Quorn's total of 8 for 156. In reply, South Augusta were all out for 107 after 38 overs. Meanwhile, West were unable to match Central's 195. Finally, to the Port Pirie competition, where Port Germain were all out after 22 overs, handing the win to Wandera, who batted first and ended with 8 for 205. And props had little difficulty matching Southport's 76, losing 5 wickets in the run chase. Josh Cunningham's 35 not out, helping to seal the win. And in tomorrow night's bulletin, I'll be back with a look at the rest of the weekend sport.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and happy Monday, everyone. Well, what a beautiful summer day across the region today. From 3 p.m, Port Augusta was partly cloudy and 28. It was partly cloudy and 25 for Cleve, and Coffin Bay topped 20 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Whyalla was mostly sunny and 24, partly cloudy and also 24 for Port Lincoln. Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Clare were all 27 degrees and Adelaide was mostly sunny and 23. Kadina was 25, Cooper Pedy was 28 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, lingering cloud about central and eastern parts with a nearby trough are only leading to the odd shower. Patchy cloud developing across the northwest with another trough may bring some thundery showers later. Bright high cloud over the west is not rain-bearing. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. South to southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas around 1 metre, and south to southwesterly swell below 1 metre. Cloudy in Port Lincoln with 19 degrees tomorrow. Cleve also 19 with a possible shower, and 26 in Woodna. While partly cloudy and 22, becoming windy in Port Augusta, set to reach a high of 25 degrees there, and Kadina will reach 23. Port Pirie and Clare will be partly cloudy, and Broken Hill will be sunny with a high of 30 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, it'll be windy in Port Augusta on Wednesday, mostly sunny in Port Pirie with 25, sunny in Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill, Port Lincoln at 20 degrees. Sunny in Port Augusta, Port Pirie, Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill on Thursday, while mostly sunny and 22. Cloud clearing in Woodna with 26, Port Lincoln to reach 19. Sunny conditions across most of the region on Friday, 30 degrees in Woodna, Port Augusta and Port Pirie both to reach 28, and Port Lincoln will be partly cloudy with 21 degrees. So December isn't looking too bad at all so far, Ruby, with another week of sunny weather for us to enjoy. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Lovely, thanks for that, Alex. And that's all local news this Monday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.